Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 18th of November and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, let's start with the video. In the video, we are going to discuss the entire Hindu newspaper analysis. We'll take all the articles, we'll simplify them, we'll take the background, the way forward. And if you are new here, I would like to tell you that you can download the explainer PDF of this entire discussion. In this PDF, we have given the notes, including the editorial notes, and in the last, the mains practice question has also been given. These notes can be downloaded from Telegram. The link for the Telegram channel has been given in the description box in YouTube. Moreover, you can visit the Telegram and you can search there the channel by typing Thinking Palette by Sahil. Now, first of all, let's take the overview of the entire newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are important in the today's newspaper. So here we have the page number 1 of the Delhi edition. The first page, the first article reads about that the Supreme Court had agreed to list plea for the Collegium system review. This is a good article and an important article for the polity related issues. We'll take that. Center seeks review of the Supreme Court order freeing Rajiv Gandhi convicts case. Now guys, there is a constitutional angle behind this particular issue. Briefly, we'll take that what has happened in this particular direction. After that, MCD polls etc. have been given. Not important. In the city section, the regional issues, regional politics etc. have been given. So nothing very much important. Fine. So directly guys, we will be reaching to the editorial page. Okay, now on the editorial page, one more thing I want to tell you, that you might be having some different edition of the Hindu newspaper, maybe Chennai edition, Bengaluru edition. So in the regional edition, majorly the regional issues and advertisements etc. are there, which are not very much important for the examination. However, if some important thing comes, then that we need to see that. Then opaque political financing could cost democracy dear. We'll see this particular article with respect to the political financing electoral bond scheme. Weighing in on the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana for free grains scheme. We'll see this particular article as what it is talking about. Then shrinking exports with the high deficit call for a policy reboot. Now if you remember guys, just a couple of days back, we have seen this particular article in the newspaper that right now there is a global recession that is going on. In fact, yesterday only we have seen that particular article. So because of that particular thing, the exports are impacting. Now guys, in this particular direction, the export data, month by month export data in terms of numbers etc. has been given throughout this particular article. Now these many datas etc. are not much very important, because number one, month to month details are not needed to be seen. Then comeback bid despite party opposition, Trump is hoping to win the nomination again. Not very much important article with respect to the UPSC exam. Isn't reservation for the poor a good thing? We'll see this article. Then the text and the context, extreme climate is the new normal. Okay, so guys, here we see this particular thing, that basically cold waves, for how many days the cold waves were there, fine, how many days heat waves were there. Okay, and these particular datas etc. have been given. Now just the datas and informations are being given. Okay, with respect to the exam, the substance, okay, the academic substance is not there, just the numbers have been given, that year by year what change is coming. Then moving on, the endless fascination for the genre of the stop motion, not important article for the UPSC exam. Then government to hold off-site on Andaman as it prepares for the G20 presidency. Now if you read the article on the face of it looks that it is important one, but actually the article doesn't contains any substance what the article is telling about. I'll simplify. See, India had taken the G20 presidency. Now India will be inviting the diplomats and will be taking the diplomats on the Havelock Island of the Andaman. Fine. So we will be they will be taken to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Okay. So the itinerary has been given that okay, first they'll come from a chartered flight, then they'll sit on a boat, then they'll be ferried this in that resort that they will be staying. All those things have been given. Fine. So their itinerary etc. With respect to the exam, no substance has been given in this particular article, so no need to go there. Then after that, India has evidence of terror financing. We'll see this particular article. Moscow format calls for minority rights. We'll see this particular article. Then the political articles etc. not very much important. Rhino horns the traffic with impunity. We'll see this article. Election Commission may be honest but can have definite political learning. We'll see this particular article as what it is talking about. UK hikes taxes, cuts spending as recession looms. Okay. Uh, then guys, moving on, finance minister asks NIF to guide private capital in infrastructure. This is an important article. Then the corporate trends, etc., not important for the examination. Okay, now after that we have the sports page. So this is guys the overview of the entire newspaper, and now let's discuss all the relevant articles one by one in the detail. Now, first of all, before starting, we take the GS quotation. Now, this GS quotation can be used in your ethics or your other GS 1, 2, 3 questions. Okay, to complement your questions, the GS quotations can be used. Now, today we are taking the quotation from the Potter Stewart, and this quotation is very, very important quotation for the ethics GS paper number 4. And in fact, this exact quotation has been asked in this year's question paper also, that recently mains paper that has been held. So, Potter Stewart says that ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is right to do. Now, what you have right to do, you have right to do, it is your legal entitlement, it is your constitutional entitlement. But sometimes our constitutional entitlement might come in conflict, or sometimes our constitutional entitlement might be something which might not bring some kind of a common welfare. So at that point of a times, we need to understand that we need to let them go also. Okay, so understand this particular thing, that what you have right to do and what is right to do are two different things. Is it clear or not? So this understanding and this realization is the ethics. Knowing this difference is ethics. Now let's take the first article. Supreme Court agrees to list plea for the Collegium system review. Now guys, this particular article we are going to take with respect to GS paper number 2, issues of polity as well as particularly judiciary related issues. Now, before going in this particular article, guys, I would like to tell you some of a background, and after understanding that background, we'll go in the details of this particular article. Now, first of all, guys, when we talk about the Supreme Court's judges appointment. So Supreme Court judges appointment happens via the Collegium. Now, first of all, understand this thing, that the judges of the Supreme Court and High Court both are appointed by Collegium system right now. Now, the Collegium system was not originally mentioned within the Constitution of India. When we read the Constitution of India for appointment of Supreme Court and High Court judges, we have two of the articles. First of all, we have article number 124, and article 124 provides that the Chief Justice of India and the judges of Supreme Court are appointed by the President. This is the article 124, and then there is the similar article for the High Court also, that is the article 217. So they provide that the judges will be appointed by the President, but the detailed process has not been given. And in this particular direction, what has happened, the Collegium system. Now, this article is particularly concerning about the Supreme Court judges. So, what happened in 1993? The Supreme Court Collegium system came in existence, and it was provided by a 9-judge bench, that a collegium of 4 senior most judges of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court, they will be recommending a name of a judge who is to be they will be recommending the names of the judge who are to be appointed in the Supreme Court to CGI will then be referring that particular name list to the President of India, and President of India has to appoint the Supreme Court judges amongst them only. Is it clear or not? So there is a mandatory consultation that has to be done, and on that basis of mandatory consultation only the judges of the Supreme Court are to be appointed. So we have this Collegium system. Now, over the years, this Collegium system has been criticized. It has been said that the Collegium system is bringing the nepotism, it is bringing the favoritism. There is a phenomena that uncle judges prevail in the Supreme Court, and it has been said that the relatives of the judges, they are becoming judges. Okay, and because of this particular thing, the institution of judiciary has been criticized at the times also. So therefore, it has been said that there needs to be the transparency in the appointment process of the judges. Fine. And there are the multiple petitions that have also been filed into the Supreme Court. Now guys, what has happened? Why recently the article has come into the news? Because the Chief Justice of India had agreed that hear a petition to reconsider the collegium system for the judicial appointments. It is being criticized, so we'll consider that particular thing. Now, guys, actually, just I want to tell you a little bit about the National Judicial Appointment Commission (NJAC) that came with the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act. Now, what was this NJAC? So, basically, it was provided that for the appointment of the Supreme Court judges, for the appointment of the High Court judges, and for the transfer of the High Court judges. Okay. Now, all these particular decisions will not be taken by the Collegium. Rather, these particular decisions will be taken by a body, that is the National Judicial Appointment Commission. Now, this National Judicial Appointment Commission included the Chief Justice of India, two senior most judges of the Supreme Court, law minister, and the two eminent persons. Now, these two eminent persons, they will be chosen by a subcommittee that was further constituted. So, the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act came and it brought the NJAC. It came in existence and it actually replaced the Collegium. But what happened? Basically, fine. So, the NJAC, Parliament amended the Constitution, Article 214, Article 270, to Article 124, Article 124, Article 217 got amended, and the NJAC came in 2014. But in 2015, a five judge bench, they provided that 99th Constitutional Amendment Act is invalid, the NJAC is invalid, and again they revived the Collegium system. Supreme Court provided this particular thing, that it has substantially reduced the power of judiciary, and the basic structure dictates that the judiciary needs to be free and fair institution, but it is tampering with the institution of judiciary. So therefore, the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act was declared as invalid, and again the Collegium system came. Since then, there have been the petitions that have been filed time and time again, which provided that we needed to amend it. So therefore, what had happened? The petitioners. Now, first of all, these are all the criticisms that have been given. What petitioners are saying this thing. So petitioners had said this thing, that Collegium system is a synonym for nepotism and favoritism. It has been provided that when we talk about the National Judicial Appointment Commission that came by the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act, that received the unanimous assent of both the houses. Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha gave the assent, then even the 21 state assemblies also gave the assent to that. But what happened? Judges, judiciary just went out and they provided that it is unconstitutional. It has been called that it is a judicial activism, or rather it is a judicial overreach that has been done. Now, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the appointment and transfer of judges, it falls in exclusive province of the legislative and executive policy. Okay, but here the Supreme Court has interfered. Now, when we talk about this particular petition that has come, the Supreme Court, fine, it has provided that the Collegium system, it was introduced by a 9-judge bench judgment of 1993, and whether a petition can even be filed to challenge the Supreme Court's order. See, you can file a petition to challenge a constitutional amendment, you can file a petition to challenge a law, but can you file a petition to challenge the Supreme Court's order? Because when we are talking about that the Collegium system needs to be removed, in a way we are challenging what is happening. The challenge is being made to the 9-judge bench judgment of 1993. So is it acceptable or not? That is something that the CJI has wondered upon. Now, the petitions, they have provided this particular thing, that when we talk about the present system of the Collegium, where it is appointing the judges, now this particular process is not transparent. In fact, it should be transparent. It should basically, the process should be such that we should notify the vacancies in the Supreme Court and should invite the applications from the eligible and desirous people who want to join the Supreme Court as the judges. Okay, and in this particular direction, the opportunities are now not given. So bring back the NJAC and reconsider the Collegium system. These are the two things that had come. So I hope, guys, that you have understood it. Okay, so that is all about this particular article, and now we will be moving to the next article. Okay. Hello, sir. Now CJI Chandrachud proposed for 6-member Collegium for including Justice Sanjeev Khanna and in its place from November 9, 2022. Okay, yes, fine. Then moving to the next article, Center seeks review of Supreme Court order freeing Rajiv case convicts. Now, basically, What this particular article is talking about, this article is talking about an ongoing issue that is there with respect to the role of the governor and the governor's recent decision, which was challenged to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court acted on that particular decision and released the convicts of the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case. Now this particular article will see with respect to the scope of the pardoning power of the governor vis-a-vis the Supreme Court's view onto the mercy petitions. So this is a kind of a outline, this is a kind of a blueprint that I had given to you, and now let's discuss this particular article in a little bit detail. So basically guys, what actually happened? The story starts from the article will be important for GS paper number 2, polity. Now, you see this particular thing, that story starts from the 1991. So what happened? The former Prime Minister of India, Rajiv Gandhi's assassination was carried. Now, as the assassination was carried, there were many people who were charged for that particular assassination. And what happened? Finally, 7 people got convicted in that particular case. Now, guys, over the period of time, now first of all, the 7 people, they were given the death penalty. They were given the death penalty. But over the years, their death penalty was commuted to the life imprisonment. The death penalty was commuted to the life imprisonment by the Supreme Court in 2014. Here, so this was the case status since 2014. Now what had happened, these people who got convicted into the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case in 2018, they applied for a mercy petition. And at that point of a time, Tamil Nadu's Council of Ministers, fine, they even suggested to the governor. Now, you know this particular thing, that the governor has the power to pardon. Governor as well as president. Governor as well as a president both has the power to pardon. So pardoning power of president are mentioned in Article 72. Pardoning power of governor is mentioned in Article 161. So they applied to the governor for the pardoning, and it was asked that governor, by using the powers given under Article 161, should give the pardon. Tamil Nadu government suggested that yes, it should be given. But what happened? Governor did not took any decision and even did not heard the suggestion given by the Tamil Nadu government. And Constitution provides very clearly that the governor had to act on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. So governor did not took any decision. Rather what happened? Governor referred that particular petition to the President of India. Okay, and in combined since 2018 to 2022, 4 years, neither the governor acted nor the president acted. So therefore what happened? Supreme Court said that it leads to the grave mental torture. And Supreme Court, by using the Article 142, released one of the convict by the name of A.G. Perarivalan. Fine. So Supreme Court released one of a convict by the name of A.G. Perarivalan. Now what is Article 142? Article 142 gives the power to the Supreme Court, that the Supreme Court can pass any order, can pass any decree in order to do the complete justice. So Article 142 gives a lot of power Supreme Court, and Supreme Court released this one particular person. Fine. Now, what had happened? The six other convicts, they also approached to the Supreme Court and said that as A.G. Perarivalan has been given, his death sentence has been reduced, fine, he has been released from the jail, they should also be released. Supreme Court released these 6 convicts also from the jail. This is something that has happened in the past. Now guys, what has happened? The center has moved to the Supreme Court. And it's seeking the review of the order of prematurely releasing these 6 convicts, fine, for the matter of the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case in 1991. So it has been said that this case has been decided in a wrong manner. The center government is providing that the union was not given any opportunity in this particular case. Fine, hearing of this particular case, they were not given any opportunity, they were not made a party. And because the union government was not made a party, they were not able to keep forward their viewpoint. So therefore, the union government is saying that there has been a procedural lapse. Fine, and therefore it has been provided that the Supreme Court should reconsider that particular decision. The central government had provided this particular thing, that the people, the 7 people who have been convicted, out of them the 4, fine, they are the Sri Lankan nationals, and granting remission to a terrorist of the foreign nation who had been convicted in accordance with the law and have been responsible for the assassination of the prime minister. It is a matter which has international ramifications. It is the matter of terrorism. So therefore, Supreme Court should not release, should not prematurely be releasing these people, and Supreme Court should reconsider that particular matter. In this particular direction, the petition has been now filed into the Supreme Court. Is it clear or not? So this is something that has happened. So center seeks the review of the SC order freeing the Rajiv case convicts. So this is, guys, the entire issue that has come. Okay. I hope that you have understood this article. Fine. Now we'll go into the next article. Election commission, election commissioner or election commission may be honest but can have definite political leanings. Supreme Court. Okay. Now this particular article will be seeing with respect to the GS paper number 4. GS paper number 4. Values for civil servants, public servants. Okay. Now you see this particular thing. Before going in this particular article, I would like to tell you one very important value which is mentioned in our GS paper number 4 ethics paper, topic of foundational values. Okay. Topic of foundational values. So there is a foundational value of non-partisanship. Okay. Now understand this particular thing, that non-partisanship, first of all, what it means. Okay. Non-partisanship means that a civil servant, a bureaucrat, should not be having any political leaning, towards a political ideology, towards a political party, towards a political personality. So non-partisanship happens to be a very important values for the civil servant. It simply means that you have to work with the executive, but you should not be influenced by the political ideology of that executive. That is the value of non-partisanship, and it happens to be a very important values for the civil servants. Now basically the Supreme Court, it is examining the petitions that have been filed, and the petitions, they have questioned the independence of the election commissioners. There have been many petitions which says that many a times election commissioners have behaved in a politically partisan manner. Is it clear or not? That has been provided. Now it has been the petitions are asking this thing, that we need to make sure that the election commission works in more of an independent, neutral manner. Even the appointment of the election commissioners, chief election commissioners, needs to be outside the control of the government. It is being asked that there, see, right now the election commission's appointment are done by the president, but now it is being suggested that there should also be a collegium, and that particular collegium should be appointing the election commission's members. It has been said that a neutral high level body, excluding the prime minister and opposition leader, should select the election commissioners, and that particular body can even be the collegium of the Supreme Court judges. So the collegium is needed for the election commission members appointment. Now understand, the Supreme Court has taken this particular petition and had provided some very good provided some very good comments that what values needs to be there in the civil servants, and this particular content can directly be used in the ethics GS paper number 4. So Supreme Court had provided the Constitution bench is a bench of 5 judges. The Constitution bench has provided that election commissioner can be proficient, competent, honest, and armed with an outstanding record of service. Fine. So the person can be of probity, can be proficient, competent, but he may have a definite political leaning which may end up displaying itself in the office. See, you are talented, you are honest, very good, but at the end your attitude could be inclined toward any one political person, political functionary, and that particular thing can be reflected. Is it clear or not? So this is something that's there. Supreme Court had actually given the example of the 10th Chief Election Commissioner, T.N. Session. Now guys, understand this thing. T.N. Session has been a very important civil servant. He was the Chief Election Commissioner. Fine, he was the 10th Chief Election Commissioner, and he brought substantial reforms in the election process. He made the electoral voter ID card compulsory. He basically provided, he he provided this particular thing that the uh, um, uh, contestants, before before fighting for the elections, they have to file the affidavits, and those affidavits are to be mandatorily screened. Clear? So these particular things, these particular reforms were brought. Moreover, himself studied the criminal antecedents of the contestants, and many of the contestants even have been disqualified because they were not meeting the compliances. So TN Session, during his tenure, he brought substantial reforms and cleaning into the election process, and Supreme Court has given the example of the TN Session. He said that he managed to clean up the electoral system. Fine. Supreme Court judge said that Mr. Session merely had put up in place a set of rules which reduced human discretion to the minimum. Election commissioners, because of the rules that were established by the TN Session at that point of a time, they don't need to fear any political party. So it has been provided that as TN Session has now, the TN Session at that point of a time did not show any preference towards any political party. He was completely non-partisan. That was something. So other election commissioners should learn from the TN Session that has been suggested by the Supreme Court. Fine. Supreme Court said this particular thing also, that election commission as an institution would maintain functional independence, institutional integrity, fine, whatever the political leaning or competence of individual commissioner may be. Okay. Election commission as an institution has always been par excellence, and it has also been said by the Supreme Court that election commission of India is the envy of the world. All the world countries, the democracies, they look to the election commission of India because it has been able to maintain that independence. Okay. But at the same time, there are certain instances that the election commissioners might be partisan, but that particular thing is needed to be avoided, and we need to learn from the TN Session. Fine. Election commissioners had to follow just the rules, should not bend down under the pressure of any political party. Clear? So this is something that has happened. Now, moving on to the next article. Okay, let's take some more questions. Sir, can you please repeat again appointment of judges? Okay, Ashok, just you can rewind the video and you can see that. Okay, can we say that Collegium system is behind wheel of ignorance while appointing judges? Actually, this is a debatable. Is it really behind the wheel of ignorance, or it is a pretending that they are ignorant, or they don't or they are knowing all these things? We cannot comment that particular on that particular thing. Sir, as Article 142 provides immense power to Supreme Court, doesn't it breaches the principle of separation of power as judiciary is interfering in executive matter? See, yes, often this is an allegation that it is leading to the a violation of the theory of separation of powers. But anyhow, when we talk about judiciary entirely is a very different institution from the political and the executive. Judiciary needs to maintain the level playing field, and for that particular thing, at times judiciary has to be given some extraordinary powers also. Fine. Sir, collegium means what? Okay, so dear, this is collegium is a group of the judges, okay, which appoint the other judges. Opaque political financing could cost democracy dear. Okay. Now, this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, electoral reforms. GS paper number 2, electoral reforms, issues of political funding. Issues of political funding. Now, basically, why this particular article first of all has come in the news? Guys, electoral bond scheme is coming in the news from the past few days, and often the electoral bond scheme has been criticized. Even yesterday, we have taken an article on the electoral bond scheme that was into the news. So what has happened? What has happened? First of all, the electoral bonds were introduced in 2018, which are the banking instruments. Fine. So the electoral bond, it functions in a very basic manner. What you can do, a person can buy an electoral bond from the State Bank of India. Now that particular electoral bond can be in the denomination of 1000, 2000, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, fine, in that particular denomination. So electoral bond can be bought, okay, and that particular electoral bond will be given to a political party. It will be given to a political party. Political party will submit that particular electoral bond in their bank account, and they will redeem that electoral bond. So this electoral bond scheme had come in 2018. and now it has been provided that a major political financing, political funding is coming through these electoral bonds. But the electoral bonds have been criticized. Electoral bonds have been criticized. Why it has been criticized? Understand this particular thing. Electoral bond is criticized because of one very important reason. Now, when the electoral bonds are being bought or when they are being given to a political party, these instruments are, they don't contain any name. It is an anonymous political funding. Is it clear that this electoral bond will not contain any name? So when the political party will reveal that okay, how much crore rupees they received by electoral bond, they don't need to tell that okay, who was behind this electoral bond, because they themselves they'll say we don't know who had given this particular money. So anonymous political funding is coming in the elections. Now there might be some people with the vested interest, there might be some corporate houses who might finance the government's elections. Okay, behind the scenes they can tell that okay, we'll be giving 100 crore rupees by electoral bond, but government will say that okay, we don't know who gave the money, and behind the curtain the government might be helping certain corporates. So there is a crony capitalism that can come. So therefore the electoral bond scheme have been criticized many a times. Fine, this is the issue that has come. Now when we talk about electoral bond scheme, it was notified in 2018. Now the article is talking about that thing, that the political financing is an important determinant of the political competition. Now, the article explains that the political competition prevails at the three levels. Number one, institutional level. Fine. Institutional level, it means the regulation of a competition between ruling and opposition parties. So here the Election Commission of India will come in between. So Election Commission of India makes sure that the equal level playing field is being given to the opposition, is being given to the ruling parties, all the different contenders. So institutional level is one. Second is the organizational level. Okay, the regulation of competition within a party. Okay, organizational level within a party, there needs to be the democratic processes by which all the deserving people are being given chance. Within the political party there needs to be the regular elections. Okay, and then there is an ideological. Ideological means the role of ideas in determining the competition between the parties. Now you see this thing that the political parties, they have different ideologies. There is the right wing political parties, left wing political parties. Is it clear or not? So a political competition is on three levels. There is ideological competition, there is the competition onto the organization, and the competition, institutional competition is there. Fine. Now it has been provided that these three axes of political competition, they are influenced and they are impacted substantially by the political finance. Okay, they are influenced substantially by the political finance. Now what the article is talking about, now you see this particular thing, that the political financing, it will first of all be impacting the transparency of the political funding. Okay, and therefore the role of Election Commission of India will be questioned in between. Let's understand this particular thing in little bit more detail. Basically, uh, suppose suppose there is ABC political party, and the ABC political party is right now the ruling party. Okay, and now let's say the election has come, suppose 2024 has come, and in 2024 the elections are to be fought. Now for the fighting elections, the money is needed. Okay, now the ABC political party, which is the ruling party, they will be showing that okay, how much money they have received in the electoral funding, they might say that okay, we got 10,000 crore rupees. Okay, the next political party, which is an opposition party, let's say its name is XYZ. Now the XYZ political party might have received, let's say, just 100 crore rupees, 100 crore rupees. Now you see the difference here, 100 crore rupees have been received by the opposition, and the ruling party has 10,000 crore rupees. Now obviously the ruling party might be able to do the better campaigning because a lot of money that they have received. Okay, so basically a question comes that okay, from where they are getting these 10,000 crore rupees, and why the ruling party did not got that money. Fine, so from where you got this 10,000 crore rupees, a question will be asked. They will simply be not be giving any answer, because they'll say that okay, 10,000 crore rupees, out of that 9,500 crore rupees we actually received by the electoral bond, but on the electoral bond any name is not written. It is an anonymous banking instrument. So therefore we don't know from where the money is coming. Now nothing can be asked beyond that. Now Election Commission of India comes in between. So Election Commission of India has a responsibility to maintain free, fair and transparent elections. That is the responsibility of ECI. Now, in this particular process, we find that no satisfactory answer has come. So the Election Commission of India's role will be questioned. Election Commission of India's role will be challenged. So therefore, the article is talking about that if there is a transparency, now read this line carefully with me. The degree of transparency of political funding informs the efficiency of institutional safeguard. Opacity of electoral bond renders the power of Election Commission of India irrelevant. Okay, so as there is a lot of anonymity, it is believed that ECI is not having the sufficient power to regulate the process. Then second, now the extent to which political funding is centralized within a party determines whether power is drawn from organizational structure or by in a personalistic manner. Now guys, see this thing, that political funding being centralized, what it means. Guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the political funding, uh, you know this thing, that there is the national unit of a political party, national wing of a political party, national unit, and then there are the regional units of a political party. Okay, for example, there is the ABC political party. One is the national unit, which is situated in Delhi, and other are the regional units, fine, pradesh committees that are situated into the different states. Okay, now the question comes that if the money is given to the regional units, okay, money is given to the regional units, there will be a different type of a political structure that will emerge. If all the money is given to the national unit, and if that national unit is distributing the money, then there will be a different political structure that will emerge. Is it clear? So the extent to which the political funding is centralized within a party, it will be impacting that whether the political structure will be whether the political structure is exercised in an organized manner, or whether the politics is being carried in a personalistic manner. It will be determined. Now we'll discuss this a little bit more also. You see this particular thing, there are the examples that have been given. For the example has been given of the DMK and the BSP, Bahujan Samaj Party. Now these particular parties were highly organized parties. Why? Because they were the membership funded parties. Membership funded parties. Now you see this thing, what is this meaning of the membership funded party is? So basically, suppose this is the party BSP. Now the members of the party will be contributing the money. Members of the party will be contributing the money. So actually what happened, suppose there is a regional unit of the BSP. So obviously the members of this particular region will be contributing here. So what happened, every region got its own funding and a very organized kind of a structure was formed. Okay, then thirdly, the political financing also shapes the role of the ideas in the political competition. Now you see this thing, suppose I am running a political party and I am receiving majority of my funding from one corporate house. Okay, so obviously I will be favoring that particular corporate house more. That particular corporate house wants that there should not be at all any interference by the government. Fine, what will happen? Capitalism, suppose that corporate house wants that the capitalism should be endorsed. Okay, and if I am receiving the political funding from one that corporate house, I will also endorse the capitalism. So it has been provided that from where the political financing is coming, it influences the ideals. Fine, it will influence the ideology of that competing political party also. Now, the electoral bond schemes, it provide advantages to the ruling. Electoral bond scheme provide advantages to the ruling party. It has been contended by the author. Now here some data have been given. Now the data provide this thing. Within 2 years of its introduction, electoral bonds, fine, they said to cover 52% of the total income of the national parties and 53% of the total income of the regional parties. So majority of the total income is coming from the electoral bond. So today electoral bonds have become very much pervasive. Now, it has been provided that there are many issues into the electoral bond. The first issue, the design of the electoral bond scheme, it has a certain issues. Now, first of all, what had happened when the electoral bond scheme came, after the electoral bond scheme, fine, uh, just a minute, sorry, this point I'll discuss just in a minute. The second point, first of all, I'm discussing. Fine. So actually, the electoral bond scheme, when it came, what happened? There was an amendment that was brought, that was 7.5% limit onto the net profit was removed. What it means in very simple in very simple terms. Now, it was earlier provided that when the corporate donations are there, suppose the Reliance, want to donate the money to any political party, let's say the ABC political party, they can donate maximum of 7.5% of their net profits. They cannot donate more than 7.5% of their net profit. This was the rule earlier, but this particular rule now got changed. Okay, and it has been provided that whatever profit you want to do, even if you want to donate 100% of your profit, you can donate. There is no upper limit for that particular thing. This limit has been removed. Now what will be the implication of this particular issue? Understand this thing. Suppose suppose there is a criminal, there's a criminal, and he has a lot of money, let's say 100 crore rupees money he had. Okay, now this criminal wants to finance this particular money to a political party, ABC political party. Okay, why? Because this criminal is expecting some favorable help from the government. Now directly this 100 crore rupees cannot be given by this criminal to the political party. There will be a problem, fine, because then they need to reveal from where that money came, etc. So what an arrangement can be made? Arrangement can be made something like this, that this particular person will establish a dummy company, okay, and will root this 100 crore rupees in this dummy company. He will show that this dummy company, okay, which actually existing is on paper, it is highly profitable company, and this 100 crore rupees will be moved in this particular company by the fake invoices, etc. And it will be said that okay, the company has made 100 crore rupees profit, and as earlier only 7.5% of the profit can be given. So it means that out of 100 crore, maximum 7.5 crore rupees could be given earlier. Okay, now shifting the 100 crore rupees will take so many of the years. Okay, so therefore now what government has done, government has provided that 100% of the profits can even be given to the political party by the way of the corporate funding. So in one go the entire money will go. Okay, moreover what this particular money will go, moreover guys, what can be done, this particular corporate will go to the State Bank of India, okay, and will ask 100 crore rupee electoral bond, and that particular bond in fact will be given. Now you see this particular thing, that before giving the bond, now the when the electoral bond has come, it is actually making the process more complicated, and it is opening the doors by which the corrupt funding can come into the party. That is something that is happening, that can happen. Okay, then this is a one issue. Then the second issue is this, that guys, fine, the second issue that is there is that basically when we talk about the electoral bond, fine, the BJP fine in 2019-2020 got 75% of their total, got 75% of the total electoral bonds that were sold. So out of the total electoral bonds, 75% went only to one party, and the Congress, fine, it just got around 9% of the electoral bond. So it is highly in the favor of the ruling party. That is the issue that has come. Is it clear or not? Then there is one more issue that is there, that basically the political funding towards the national units of political parties further establish the leverage of the national leadership over the state leadership. When for example guys, I told you here, if you remember, I told you that you can donate the money directly to the national unit, or you can donate to the regional unit. Now when the electoral bonds are being drawn, these electoral bonds are most of the time being transferred into the name of the national units only, and here the data has been provided. It's provided that that electoral bonds that were sold between 2018 to 19, 80% of the bonds were redeemed in Delhi. 80% of the bonds were redeemed in Delhi. It means that the national party, national units are getting more advantage of it. So we can see this particular thing, that the electoral bonds have brought so much of anonymity, and because of this particular anonymity, these issues are coming. Fine. Now moving on in this particular direction. Okay, let's take some questions. Sir, pardoning power is not enjoyed by governor and president on their discretion. Uh, no, they are also the basically they are also the council of ministers. They have the power that they can suggest. Okay. Okay, and transferring the bill to president is the discretion of the governor. Yes, the bill can be transferred to the president. That is a discretion of governor, but it was not a bill. That pardoning is not was not a bill. Basically the pardoning power, it is an independent power of the governor that has been given by the constitution. Okay, state governor also has power to decide. Yes, correct, Nitin. Okay. Now, moving to the next article, weighing in on PMGKAY, the free grain scheme, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana free grain scheme. It is being discussed and it is being analyzed. Now, this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, critical evaluation of the government welfare schemes. So, critical evaluation of government welfare schemes have been provided in GS2 governance related issues. There will take this article. Now, let's take the article. Okay, so basically, guys, the article, it is doing a critical analysis of the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. Okay, now first of all, let me tell you a little bit about the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. So basically, when in 2020 the pandemic started, at that point of a time, as the part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, government provided that the 5 kg additional food grain will be provided to the 80 crore people. See, we have the National Food Security Act 2013. Under the National Food Security Act, the food grains, subsidized food grains at rupees 3 rupees kg rice, 2 rupees kg wheat, 1 rupee kg coarse grains are provided. Under the National Food Security Act, 66% of the India's population is eligible to claim the food grains. Okay. Under the National Food Security Act, basically the priority households will be given 5 kg food grains per month per person, and there are the poorest of the poor, that is the Antyodaya Ann Yojana households. They will be given the 35 kg disbursement per family. There will be the 35 kg flat that will be given. Even if there are 3 members, still the 35 kg will be given for the Antyodaya Ann Yojana households. Okay, so this is something that where the subsidized food grains were given. Now in the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, it was provided that over and above whatever you are getting under NFSA, that will continue. Apart from that, additionally 5 kg food grains will be given. Okay, 80 crore people got the advantage of that. Now, this particular program was operated by Department of Food and Public Distribution under the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. Now, when we talk about the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, it has been, it has come into the successive phases. Phase 1, 2, 3, fine, 4, 5, 6, 7 phases they have come. Okay, now recently what has happened? Recently, the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana had been extended for 3 more months. 3 more months. Now, as the extension has come, this extension is being criticized also at certain number of times. For example, guys, you might, if you were watching the newspaper analysis regularly, last month there were many of the articles that had come onto the freebies. Okay, many articles came onto the freebies. So first of all, as this freebie debate is going on, and as the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana got extended, it was said that it is nothing but a freebie that the government is giving. Moreover, the expenditure department of the government was not in favor of extending this particular scheme. They said this particular thing, that the cost is a very big issue and government might not be able to bear that cost. So they were not in very much of the favor. That is something that has happened. But still what happened? The government has extended that particular scheme. Now, the critics have said that the scheme was actually extended to get the political advantage. Right now, the Gujarat elections are impending, Himachal elections were there. So because of the elections in Himachal Pradesh, Gujarat, fine, this scheme has been extended. And earlier also it has been provided that in 2020, the extension was given because Bihar assembly elections were there. Okay. In 2022, when Uttar Pradesh, it was provided that, just a minute, it was provided that in Uttar Pradesh elections also, fine, the BJP got the advantage of this particular scheme. The scheme has got been extended. So for the electoral benefit, the scheme is getting extended. It has been criticized. Now you don't need to remember that on which month, which state assemblies elections were there. Now, but at the same time, there is a counterpoint also that is coming. Now the counter argument is such which is saying that actually between the period of December 22, April 2021, between this particular period, the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana was not operational. It was not operational during this particular time. And as it was not operational, during this time, there was the elections of the West Bengal, Kerala, Tamil Nadu that were there. But the scheme was not there. So it is not specifically for the electoral purposes. Okay. Now, guys, the article is saying this particular thing, that when we talk about the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, this scheme had really made a difference to the food security and public health during the pandemic. And because of that, the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Food and Public Distribution, fine, IMF, they have published a working paper, fine, and the paper of IMF, fine, the policy document of IMF, it is called as Pandemic Poverty and Inequality Evidence from India 2022. They have appreciated this particular scheme. They had said that this is a very good intervention that has been done by the government of India. So the scheme got appreciated by IMF, and even when we talk about the IMF working paper, it said that social safety net provided by the expansion of food subsidy program absorbed a major part of the pandemic shock. Major part of the pandemic shock was absorbed by that. Is it clear? Now, it has also been provided that basically we still need to carry a transparent study. We still need to carry a transparent study. The budgetary allocations are needed to be kept in control, and for that particular thing, the quota for rice or wheat can be changed suitably. How much rice you are giving? 5 kg rice, 5 kg wheat. So that particular quota can be changed suitably. Okay, the culture of providing essential commodities free at the cost of the drop of a hat has to go. Fine, this scheme is good, but every time whenever there is a crisis, just in a minute we announce these kind of a free entitlement schemes. That culture also needs to be reduced. And lastly, it is talking about that the elimination of the problem of the diversion of food grain has to be taken up with renewed vigor. Okay, so as the diversion is happening, that particular viewpoint is also needed to be considered. But anyhow, the scheme has proved to be a life savior for many of the people during the pandemic. So this is all about this particular article. And now we'll be moving to the next article. Isn't reservation for the poor a good thing? Okay, so this particular article, it is talking about the EWS reservation that has been upheld recently by the Supreme Court in the Janhit Abhiyan versus Union of India case. Fine. Now this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, issues of affirmative action reservation. Okay, by the way, on this particular line, multiple times this article has come also, and we have discussed also in a detail. So first of all, 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act has been upheld by the Supreme Court. 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act, very simply, it provided a 10% reservation to the economically weaker section people. Okay, now this particular 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act was challenged into the Supreme Court on multiple number of grounds. What they said, they provided that 10% reservation to economically weaker. Okay, there the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC have been excluded. Okay, SC, ST, OBCs, they were not given this particular EWS reservation. So therefore a discrimination has been done, and therefore this 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act was challenged, number one. Number two, it was also challenged because it has brought a new category, that is the reservation on the economic criteria. Now economic criteria was never a consideration, but now this consideration has been brought. Okay, now should reservation be means to address the poverty? Let's discuss on this particular question. Now, basically, when we talk about the reservation, guys, there is, what is the objective of reservation? See, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Ram Manohar Lohia, they have very clearly provided that reservation is not a poverty alleviation scheme. Fine. When we talk about reservation, reservation is given actually to address the social discrimination which had happened in the societies. Now, when we talk about the Dalit people in the society, there is social discrimination with them. Because of that, they were not allowed to go to school, they were not allowed to get educated, they were not given the government jobs. Now, if the reservation, if a definitely reserved seats will not be given to them, never they would have got their due, they would not they would never would have got their due in the society. So when there are the social identities, when there are the social discrimination, there the reservation has to be given. Okay, this is something. But can reservation be provided without the proof of can the reservation then be provided on economic ground also? Now this is something which is debatable. See this particular thing, guys, that when we talk about reservation, understand this thing, that when the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC people are there, there is the proof that they are not adequately represented into the government jobs, and on this particular data, on this particular proof, SC, STs and OBCs have been given reservation. But EWS quota, fine, is there any study, is there any proof that they have not been represented in the government jobs, in government schools? No, there is no quota in that particular direction. So therefore, when the reservation quota is being given, two things are addressed: social injustices are addressed, social discriminations are addressed, and secondly, their representation, present representation, is to be seen. EWS, with them, social discrimination was not there. Moreover, their numbers in the present government jobs, etc., is still very much high. Fine. Therefore, it has been provided. Now, guys, understand that as reservation has been given to the economic grounds, fine, it is also being called as the forward caste reservation. Now, there is one very important provision that I want to discuss. Article 16, subclause 4. Now, as the 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act came, what they did, they added a new part in, basically they added Article 15 subclause 6 and Article 16 subclause 6 in the Constitution of India. They did not incorporated the EWS in the Article 16 subclause 4 of the Constitution. Why? Because when Article 16 subclause 4, if it would have been, if there the EWS quota would have been inserted, then Article 16 subclause 4 provides that the reservation can only be given when there is the proof of inadequacy of representation in the government service. You see this particular thing, Article 16 subclause 4 provides that reservation can only be given when there is a proof that a particular community, particular caste is not represented. And EWS people, now EWS people, these people come from the general categories, and it has been said that they are adequately represented. And if EWS quota would have been inserted in 16.4, then the government has to give the proof of inadequacy, which they did not had. So therefore, simply what government did, they added Article 15 subclause 6, they added Article 16 subclause 6. Then that is something that happened. Okay, so this is something. Then the question comes that bringing in economic criteria in the constitution does not violate the basic structure of the constitution. Will it violating or will it not be violating? That was the question that was raised. Now, Supreme Court has provided this particular thing, that when we talk about the structure of the basic structure doctrine will evolve from time to time. Supreme Court provided that yes, historically the idea of giving reservation on economical status was not accepted. Even in 1992, Indira Sahni judgment very clearly provided that reservation cannot be given on the economic criteria. But now we are considering, because new parameters are to be considered. Okay. Now, the question is coming. Now see, one more thing has come here. Fine. Certain groups are being excluded from the quota based on their caste identity despite qualifying under the criteria for the quota. Here it is talking about the SC, STs and OBCs. So ST, ST and OBCs, fine, they are qualifying under the AWS reservation also, but they are disqualified from there. They cannot apply there. Now, basically, it delinks the reservation from the question of the social justice. Fine. Now everybody has reservation. SCs have reservation, STs have reservation, OBCs have reservation, forward classes have reservation. Today everybody is having the reservation. So basically always it has been said that when there are the arguments that have been given that entire reservation is to be removed, reservations provides benefit to only some specific people. Now this particular thing has been removed. This is one particular criteria that is also coming. So this is all these ideas which have been provided in this particular article. So basically guys, the ideas are actually at all not very much connected. Okay, what is the question? Basically this is actually the interview that has been there. Okay, and the different people are providing their different viewpoints. So the ideas are little bit isolated, but I had tried to connect them so that you can understand it more effectively. So that's all about this particular article. Now moving to the next article. ओके, दिस वन क्वेश्चन. गुड मॉर्निंग सर, क्या आप विजन मंथली करंट अफेयर्स में जो डेली न्यूज़पेपर्स एक्स्ट्रा होता है उसमें कभी कभी वीडियोस बनाकर प्रोवाइड करवा सकते हैं सर? गाइज अंडरस्टैंड वन पर्टिकुलर थिंग, दैट इफ यू आर रीडिंग द डेली न्यूज़पेपर, ओके, इट इज़ मोर देन सफिशिएंट फ्रॉम फॉर योर करंट अफेयर्स. अंडरस्टैंड दिस थिंग, दैट प्लीज please don't live under the fear of missing out. Okay, FOMO. Fine. Most of the times the monthly compilations etc that are there, they can be a good source. You can revise at the end of the month, you can just consolidate that entire month's attachment, it's good. But you should not equate your preparation only onto that particular basis, because many a times many of the irrelevant information is also there. However, if some relevant information are there, I will provide that for sure. Relevant information for sure I'll provide, but don't always think that every information that is provided on every current affair website or on every magazine, that every information is important. That's not the case. Important one will definitely be covered. Rhino horns trafficked with impunity report. Okay, now guys, this particular article will see with respect to the issues of conservation. Okay, now what has happened, just a minute. what has happened? So basically, there was recently the conference of parties which is organized by the CITES, that is the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, CITES, not the COP27, CITES conference of parties. So CITES is a convention which provides that the certain exports and imports cannot be done, exports and imports in certain species cannot be done if their survival will be impacted. Now on this COP there is a comprehensive report that has been released, that is the executive summary of the rhino horn trafficking as a form of transnational organized crime. This report has been released at the COP of CITES, where it has been provided that the rhino horns are being exported, they are just being smuggled, and that smuggling is happening in a very rampant manner. First of all, as we are talking about the rhinos, fine, there are actually, guys, the 5 varieties or 5 species of rhinos that are there. Okay, so there is number one, the white rhino, white rhinoceros, which has been given the status of the near threatened on the IUCN red list. Then there is black rhinoceros, and the black rhinoceros has been given the status of the critically endangered on the IUCN red list. Then there is the Indian rhinoceros, it has been given the status of vulnerable on the IUCN red list. Then there is Javan rhinoceros, it is given the critically endangered status. And then there is a Sumatran rhinoceros, which is again given the critically endangered status. So these are the 5 subspecies of the rhinoceros that we have, and their statuses are also given. Now it has been provided that over the past few years, okay, in terms of weight, there has been an increase in the seizure of the rhino horns. I know rhino horns are being seized, rhino horns are being exported, they are being smuggled. It's being provided that basically the Vietnamese and the Chinese criminal network, they drive the trafficked the horns throughout the illegal supply chain. According to the report, it has been provided that there are the six countries where the horn trafficking, rhino horn trafficking is prominent. These countries are South Africa, Mozambique, Malaysia, Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, Vietnam, and China. So these are the countries where majority of the rhino horn trafficking is happening. Moreover, it has also been provided that the rhino horn shipments, okay, now they are smuggled even without concealment. The rhino horns are not being even concealed. In open, they are being just smuggled. What it shows? It shows that there is rampant corrupt elements, fine, because of which the rhino horns are getting exported, are getting smuggled uh, without even any concealment. So there is an impunity. There are the corrupt officials which is providing the patronage to these smugglers. Is it clear or not? Fine. So Worldwide Fund for Nature, the Wildlife Justice Commission prepared this document onto the rhino horn trafficking that we have just discussed. Now, the article is just giving a very generic kind of a viewpoint. You don't need to remember and you don't need to read line by line this particular article. Just a 2-line message has been given. The message is that the smuggling of the rhinos have increased because the corrupt officials are colluding. The corrupt officials are helping them. Okay. Now, moving. Finance Minister asks NIIF to guide private capital into infrastructure. Okay, this article will see with respect to the GS paper number 3 issues related to Indian economy. Okay, now first of all, what this NIIF and what Finance Minister has asked. Fine. So first of all, NIIF, it stands for National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, and this fund was established in 2015. Now, what NIIF is? It is a fund in which the government will hold 49% stake. 59% stake will be held by the foreign and domestic investors. Is it clear or not? And this particular money will be invested for the asset building. This particular money will be invested for the long term capital and infrastructure requirements of the country. So in 2015 this NIIF fund was prepared. Now what has happened in the NIIF? Now this NIIF, it is a India's quasi sovereign wealth fund. Wealth fund, what it means? Wealth fund, it means that sovereign wealth fund, what it means? Sovereign wealth fund means that where the government will invest and government will be holding the fund, government will be putting the money into that particular fund, and government will be responsible in managing the assets that have been acquired by the fund. So the the NIIF, it is the sovereign wealth fund of India. Now the finance minister has asked the NIIF to expand its operation and to bring more private capital, to bring more private investors. And the private investors are to be brought into the National Infrastructure Pipeline, NIP, National Infrastructure Pipeline, Pradhan Mantri Gati Shakti and National Infrastructure Corridor. So Gati Shakti, Infrastructure Corridor, National Investment Pipeline are all the big ticket projects of the government which intends to invest into the infrastructural requirements of a country. So private sector investment is to be brought in these particular regions. Now, NIIF has even now, just recently, what has happened? NIIF has proposed the bilateral fund, that is the India-Japan fund. So I told you that under the NIIF, there will be the money that will be put by the government, and then the money will also be put by the other investors, foreign investors. So Japan will also be putting the money under the NIIF, and that particular money will be used for the development. And for that, MOU has been signed between the Japan Bank for International Development and between the India. So this is the NIIF. So two things NIIF should be investing in. First of all, actually we should be focusing upon, number one, bring more private investors in NIIF, and with the Japan, a bilateral fund is being established. Fine. Now moving to the next article. Moscow format calls for minority rights, political reconciliation in Afghanistan. So this particular article can be seen with respect to the GS paper number 3, internal security and issues of terrorism. Internal security and issues of terrorism. Now, if you remember, we have discussed this particular article yesterday also. Okay. And in yesterday, I have told you the basic information first. Now, basically, guys, as in Afghanistan, the Taliban has taken over. There is a lot of destability still which is there into the Afghanistan. And to stabilize the Afghanistan, the group of countries, different groupings are there which are trying to negotiate the peace in Afghanistan. And one grouping is Moscow format. Now, what is Moscow format? Moscow format, it is a grouping of country which is trying to bring stability in Afghanistan. It consists Russia, China, Pakistan, Iran, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan and India. In recently, the Moscow format meet has happened in Russia, and India has also participated into this in Moscow format. Now, in this particular meeting, what are the key takeaways? So, first of all, the countries, they have provided that humanitarian aids, humanitarian assistance is to be provided, as the in Afghanistan Taliban has taken over. But Afghanistan is fighting with a lot of hunger is there, developmental indicators had got impacted there. Okay, still there are the violence that is going on. So humanitarian situation if within the Afghanistan is to be brought under control. Moreover, intra-Afghan talks between the Taliban and between the earlier government, okay, the intra-Afghan talks are also needed to be carried. Now, here, the group of the countries of the Moscow format, they have agreed on certain things. Number one, consultation should be carried. The consultation, sorry, it called for the respect for all Afghan ethnic groups and minorities. Okay, all ethnic groups and minorities are to be respected. Their rights are to be recognized. National conciliation is to be done between the different actors in the Afghanistan. Okay, and all terrorist infrastructure in Afghanistan. So Al-Qaeda in the past had got lot of patronage from the Afghanistan. Is it clear? So all those terrorist infrastructure are to be crippled. Then strengthening of Afghan authorities to ensure basic rights and freedoms of the population. Okay. Then the next thing is that the sides have also expressed that support for the fundamental rights of all ethnic groups, minorities, women, children are to be given. And there is one more demand that has been made. See, a lot of assets, a lot of money of the Afghanistan which is lying into the US banks that have been frozen after the Taliban took over. So complete unfreezing of the Afghanistan's asset by the Washington, that by the USA, it has also been called. So these are the key takeaways that had come from this particular direction. Clear? So just you can remember 2-3 points, and when you are writing an answer on terrorism or such kind of a things, we can just give a suggestion. Okay, or we can just put forward these particular examples. Now moving to the next article. India has evidence of terror financing through social media platforms, NIA chief. Okay. So NIA stands for National Investigation Agency. NIA stands for National Investigation Agency. Now guys, basically what is the issue? Now, as of now, you don't need to go too much into this particular article. I'll explain you. So basically, on October 18 and October 19, that is, November 18 and November 19, that is today and tomorrow, no money for terror conference will be held. no money for terror conference will be held. In this no money for terror conference, India is providing this particular thing that the terrorists are raising the money via different means. For example, terrorists are getting the financing through the social media platforms. They are doing crowdfunding. Okay, they are doing crowdfunding from social media. They are asking the help from the sympathizers. That is something that is happening. Okay, so India has evidence for the terror financing that has happened through the social media platforms. So therefore, India is asking the Interpol, Europol, Financial Action Task Force, and many other agencies that we should be controlling onto the terror financing that is happening. Now, understand this particular thing. Pakistan and Afghanistan will not attend the event. Okay, China, will it be attending or not? Its response has not come. Now, my point is that today and tomorrow this meet will be happening, and when this meet will happen, we'll finally be taking what are the takeaways that had come from this meet. So no need to follow it right now. Just wait for 2 days, that is the 18th and the 19th, as the meet will be concluded. Then we'll take what are the key takeaways for that. Okay, so that is about it. And now the main practice question for today. Question reads, in the context of Russia-Ukraine conflict and its adverse impact on the world's food and energy sector, critically analyze the government decision to extend the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. So this is an answer which is, this is a question which is important for the hunger related issues GS1 and GS2. Please write the answers into the 10 marks. GS paper number. Okay, so that is all guys about the GS question for today. With this we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis. Guys, I hope that you have understood and you have liked the video. If you have liked, please do hit the like button. Please do hit the like button, and please do leave your comment also. Now we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much.